All right, in this video, I'm going to review reading a URL. This is to help you understand a little more about what's included in a URL and what you need for your references whenever you're writing them, and also to show you what can be removed. So first thing you should understand is a URL is actually under the umbrella of the term URI, which stands for Uniform Resource Identifier. And URIs provide a resource's location, and they are identified with a unique string of information. This could mean a website, it could mean an image or a blog or something else. Now, URL specifically refers to Uniform Resource Locator, which is a location on the internet. And this could be video, images, text, whatever. The one drawback with a URL as opposed to using a URN is that a URL can change, and if the image's location within a file system or whatever changes, that's when you get dead links. Those links where you click on it and then you get a page that tells you, hey, nothing's here anymore. It's because the file or video or text or whatever moved and it is no longer in that location. However, with a uniform resource identifier, or uniform resource name, excuse me, then we are referring to a specific resource by name. And that means that no matter what, wherever it is, you can still find it. So, for example, a book's ISBN, no matter where you put the book in either a physical or digital location, if you search based on the ISBN or if it has a DOI, then you will be able to find that book. Now, here are the different parts of a URL. A URL contains a scheme, an authority that's made up of a domain name and a port, and a path to whatever file you're accessing, as well as probably some parameters or an anchor for the information. So a scheme is the first part of a URL. This is where your computer is going to first start looking. And it's very similar to a postal code in that it gives a general area of where the information or the item is that you're looking for. And while HTTP does refer to something on the internet, you could also have a scheme that refers to an email or even to local storage on your computer, so to one of your hard drives. Now, HTTP and HTTPS refer to hypertext transfer protocols. The difference is the first one, HTTP, refers to an unsecured version, so where the text is sent unencrypted, and the S version, HTTPS, refers to a secured one where information is encrypted as it travels between your computer and whatever location you're accessing. So this second version is the more common one nowadays. That's the preferred method of hypertext transfer protocol. And also, it usually requires a digital certificate on the part of the group hosting the website or the server or what have you. Now, hypertext in general refers to a text format where you usually have like hyperlinks to different locations. So not the more static text version that you might see in a very basic text editor. Um, and it goes beyond normal text. And this is also how we refer to the database format where you can access information on a web location. Now, this term was originally coined by Ted Nelson in the early 1960s, so before the internet. And he coined the term before hypertext was actually a thing. He thought of, he and I'm sure a couple of other people thought about it, and then later Douglas Engelbart, the second gentleman here in the lower right hand corner, uh, created the first hypertext a few years later. Now, the second part of a URL is the authority. So we have the scheme that HTTPS, then you have a colon, two backslashes, and then the domain name and port. Now, the port usually isn't shown. Most of the time, all you'll see is the domain name. And the domain name is telling you which web server you're requesting. So when you type in apple.com, it means that you are selecting the Apple web server and you'll be brought to their homepage. And again, the port information refers to the technical gate access. That isn't something that's usually visible or anything that you really need to worry about for everyday use. Now, the path to the resource, it used to be a physical file location. Nowadays, this is more of an abstract piece of information. So think about whenever you create folders in your computer, if you want to save something in your spring 2024 folder, you might have another one inside that folder that says communication 212, and then you'd have a file saved within that folder. So that is basically what you're looking at whenever you see these backslashes and these additional pieces of information in the path to the resource. So depending on how they have everything organized, you'll see it uh, with, one or more backslashes and uh, and then the file information. Now, next we have the parameters, and this kind of extra information varies based on who is hosting the web server and what kind of information they need. If you're playing an embedded video, then you might have something like this. This is an example from YouTube. So here, if we copy this information, we can see that it automatically goes to this. We can see it automatically starts playing this video from this particular channel, and it explains how the video should start playing, etc. in there. So the basic information that needs to happen in order for the computer to do whatever it is you want it to do. And finally, sometimes you will have an anchor in the information. This is a bookmark inside of your resource. So, for example, if we're looking at a web page and you highlighted a particular section, then the highlighted portion would follow the hashtag you see right here. And often what will happen is that highlighted section your browser will automatically go to it. Or in the case of a video, if it says to start playing at the 2-minute mark. then it will go directly to the 2-minute mark and start playing. Now, a lot of times when you search something, especially in a browser like with Google, they'll automatically highlight content on a web page. And instead of giving the all of the highlighted content and all this extra information, all we really need is the path to everything up to the path to the resource. So let's look and see what this web address includes here. Now, if you want to take a look, you can see the scheme is right here. We have our domain name, and then we have our path to the resource, which includes the title, which goes all the way up until this hashtag right here. And then it has text equals and some additional information. So let's see what's included. As you can see, this information is highlighted right here under the origins of the distinction, and it starts talking about Dia de los Muertos and about the festival, etc. Um, so you can see that it's highlighted right here, and we don't really need that in our references section. So to clean up the URL and make it better for the people who are going to look at our references, we'll stop at the path to the source. So it looks like this instead. All right, now what about a DOI? So DOI is different from a URL, just like an ISBN is different from a URL. A DOI is a digital object identifier, and this digital identifier, this number refers can refer to any kind of object. It could be a physical one, it could be something that is digital or abstract. Whatever it is, this specific identifying number permanently identifies the object. And unlike a URL, which remembers a uniform resource locator, then this won't become dead if you move the object around. You can move it around in your file folders and you'll still be able to find it. For example, here, if we look, this is the DIY handbook number. You click on it and it goes straight to it. And here you can see the basic pieces of a DOI, the DOI resolver, which is right here at the beginning. It looks very similar to what we saw for the URL, but like I said, not the same thing. So, but you can see it does still have a scheme right here, and then we have something that's very similar to what we had for the domain name, except in this case, this whole section is called a DOI resolver. And then you have your prefix followed by your suffix. Now, how do you find that information? Let's look at an example from the library. So I'm here at the UL library website. Again, you can see all of the parts that we talked about earlier. Well, mainly the scheme and the domain name here in the top of the browser. But let's look. We want to search a topic in the library. First of all, we want to make sure we're getting full text, and we also want it to be from a peer-reviewed scholarly journal. Let's look up what about marine biology. Right. So again, as I mentioned in class, you do need to log in using your CLID. And here's our first article. Looks like it's one that has a PDF. So let's look at it. The impact of nanoplastics on marine life. And you can see we do have a lot of the information we would need available right here. But let's see how it looks in the PDF. Sometimes that's a little easier to read. Um, you can see the author's information here. And we also have a DOI up here at the top and which scientific journal it was published in. So the National Environment and Pollution Technology Journal. And we have our volume number, pages, and year of publication. And if you click on that DOI, let's see. Okay, it looks like it's actually bringing us up for print, which is perfectly fine. Um, all right, now we can open the link. But you can see this DOI follows the format that we that we saw in the other example. So this is what you would copy and put into your reference. Right. Well, that is it for DOIs and URLs today. Let me know if you have any questions.